You know that moment when you stand up from your favorite chair and feel the room tilt just a little? Or when you reach down to tie your shoes and suddenly think, this feels riskier than it used to? You're not imagining it. Balance isn't something we think about until it starts slipping away. And for many of us over 60, that shift can feel sudden, even scary. But here's the good news. Regaining stability doesn't require fancy equipment or gym memberships. In fact, some of the most effective tools are hiding in plain sight, woven into the rhythm of your daily life. Take my neighbor Margaret. Thwack, 72, she'd given up her morning walks. Not because she didn't want to go, but because she'd started feeling shaky on uneven sidewalks. "I'm just getting old," she told me one day, shrugging it off. But here's what Margaret didn't realize. Balance isn't a fixed trait. It's a skill, and like any skill, it thrives with practice. After her doctor warned her that avoiding movement could actually accelerate the problem, Margaret started with one simple habit: the coffee counter challenge. Every morning while waiting for her kettle to boil, she'd stand sideways by the kitchen counter, rest one hand lightly on the surface, and practice shifting her weight from one foot to the other. Just 90 seconds a day. Within weeks, she was back to walking her terrier around the block. No cane, no fear. The secret here isn't complicated. It's about retraining your body's balance GPS through subtle, consistent movements. Let's break it down. First, weight shifting. The exercise Margaret adopted teaches your ankles, knees, and hips to communicate better. Here's how to try it safely. Find a sturdy surface, a countertop, table, or even the back of a couch. Place one hand on it for support, then slowly rock forward onto your toes, back onto your heels, and side to side. Keep the movements small at first, like you're tracing a clock with your hips. If that feels steady, challenge yourself by lifting one heel slightly off the ground. The goal isn't to push into discomfort, just to wake up those stabilizer muscles we often neglect. Now let's talk about the shoes sabotaging your stability. You might think, I'm indoors. What's the harm in wearing slippers? But loose, unsupportive footwear is a silent culprit behind countless slips. Meet Tom, a 68-year-old retired teacher who loved his worn-in house slippers. After a near fall on his hardwood stairs, his physical therapist made a surprising suggestion. Go barefoot for 10 minutes a day. Why? Walking without shoes strengthens the tiny muscles in your feet and ankles, which act as your body's first line of defense against wobbles. Start by ditching slippers during low-risk moments, while folding laundry or washing dishes. Feel the floor beneath you. Curl your toes gently, then spread them wide. This isn't just about balance. It's about rebuilding a connection to the ground that thick soles often mute. But what if you're someone who already feels unsteady on your feet? That's where chair yoga comes in, a practice my friend Ruth swears by. At 79, Ruth uses her dining chair not just for meals but for seated leg lifts, gentle torso twists, and airplane arms, extending both arms out like wings while focusing on a fixed point ahead. These movements aren't about flexibility. They're about teaching your body to stabilize even when seated. The key is consistency. Ruth does her routine during TV commercials, syncing exercises with ad breaks. 3 minutes of movement, 3 times a show, she laughs. By the end of Jeopardy, I've logged 15 minutes without even trying. Now you might be thinking, this sounds manageable, but what about days when even standing feels daunting? That brings us to an often overlooked tool, your breath. Strange as it sounds, shallow breathing can throw off your balance. When we're tense or distracted, we tend to breathe from our chests, which subtly shifts our center of gravity. Try this instead. Sit tall in a chair, feet flat on the floor. Place one hand on your belly. Inhale deeply through your nose, feeling your abdomen rise like a balloon. Exhale slowly through pursed lips, as if blowing out a candle. Repeat 5 times. This belly breathing activates your core muscles, the body's natural stabilizers, and calms your nervous system. Pair it with any balance exercise and you've doubled the benefits. By now you've got a toolkit. Weight shifts, mindful footwear choices, chair exercises, and breath work. But there's one more habit that's quietly undermining millions of seniors. A mistake so common most don't realize they're making. It has nothing to do with exercise and everything to do with how you navigate the spaces. Think about the path from your bedroom to the bathroom at night. Are there a pair of shoes left in the hallway? A rug corner that's starting to curl? What feels familiar can become invisible until it's not. Let's talk about turning your home into a balance training ally. Let's start with something you might not expect: your home's hidden balance curriculum. Think about Helen, a 67-year-old grandmother who loved her cozy, cluttered living room, right down to the stack of gardening magazines by her recliner. One evening, rushing to answer the phone, she tripped over that very pile and fractured her wrist. "I've walked around those magazines 1,000 times," she told me later. "How did I not see them?" Here's the truth. Familiarity breeds complacency. Our brains tune out everyday hazards, treating them as part of the scenery. But your environment isn't just where you live. It's where you practice balance, whether you realize it or not. After Helen's fall, her occupational therapist suggested a game-changing strategy: the 5-second scan. Before moving from one room to another, pause and visually sweep the area for trip risks: loose cords, wrinkled rugs, stray pet toys. Then, as you walk, say out loud, "Doorway clear," or "Step up here." Verbalizing your actions forces your brain to engage fully, turning routine paths into conscious balance practice. Helen took it further. She rearranged her furniture to create balance lanes, narrow pathways where she practices heel to toe, walking while doing chores. "I feel like a kid playing hopscotch again," she says, "but my legs haven't felt this strong in years." Now, let's address a sneaky balance thief: your eyesight. Did you know that blurred vision or outdated glasses prescriptions can make the floor appear closer or farther away than it really is? Meet Arthur, a 70-year-old avid reader who'd been squinting through his decade-old bifocals. One misjudged step off his porch led to a sprained ankle. His optometrist delivered a wake-up call. Your eyes aren't just for seeing, they're your body's primary balance sensors. Arthur's solution? The 20-20-20 rule. Every 20 minutes, he pauses to look at something 20 feet away for 20 seconds. This simple habit reduces eye strain and sharpens depth perception. For added balance benefits, he practices standing on one leg near a countertop for support during these visual breaks. "Two birds, one stone," he grins. But here's where many stumble, literally. Let's talk about hydration. You might associate dehydration with thirst or fatigue, but research shows that even mild fluid loss can impair coordination and reaction time. Picture Louise, a 75-year-old former dancer who blamed her occasional dizziness on just getting older. Then her daughter noticed she'd been skipping her afternoon tea, Louise's main source of fluids. After increasing her water intake and adding a pinch of salt to her morning glass to aid absorption, her balance improved dramatically. Why? Water keeps the fluid in your inner ear, the body's built-in level, functioning optimally. Try this. Place a glass of water near spots where you naturally pause, by the coffee maker, TV remote, or bathroom sink. Every time you reach for it, take 3 mindful sips. It's not about guzzling gallons. It's about consistent, small acts of replenishment. Now, if you've ever felt a sudden wobble while reaching for a top shelf or turning to chat with a friend, you're not alone. In fact, I'd love to hear from you. Drop a number 3 in the comments if you've had a "why did I lose my balance just then" moment recently. For those still watching, if these tips are resonating with you, consider hitting that subscribe button. It's the best way to make sure you catch part 3, where we'll tackle the surprising daily habit that could be eroding your stability and how to flip it into your greatest strength. Speaking of daily habits, let's address the sitting trap. Many of us believe resting protects our bodies, but prolonged sitting stiffens joints and weakens the muscles that keep us upright. Take my friend Edna, 80, who used to joke that her recliner had a gravity setting. After struggling to stand up without using her arms, her physical therapist assigned commercial break rebellions. Every time an ad interrupts her shows, she marches in place for 30 seconds. At first I felt silly, she admits, but now I've got more spring in my step than I did at 65. The key? Frequent micro-movement, not marathon exercise sessions. Set a timer to rise every 30 minutes, even if you just shift your weight from foot to foot while waiting for the microwave. This brings us to a critical truth. Balance isn't a single skill. It's a conversation between your muscles, senses, and brain. And like any good dialogue, it thrives on variety. That's why cross-training your balance matters. Consider Ray, a 78-year-old who swore by his daily Tai Chi routine. But when he tripped on a curb, he realized he'd only practiced balance in slow, controlled motions, not the quick reflexes needed for real-life stumbles. Now he mixes Tai Chi with surprise drills. His granddaughter randomly calls out, "Freeze," during walks, and Ray pauses to stabilize on one leg. By training in unpredictable scenarios, he's building adaptable stability. You can replicate this with the grocery bag challenge. Next time you carry bags, pause halfway to your kitchen and stand on one leg for 5 seconds. Hold on to a counter if needed. It's functional fitness disguised as a chore. But perhaps the most overlooked balance booster is social connection. Isolation doesn't just affect your mood. It literally changes how you move. A study from Johns Hopkins found that socially engaged seniors have better posture and gait speed than their lonely peers. Why? Conversation requires split-second cognitive processing, listening, responding, while maintaining body control, a stealthy balance workout. Take Marge and Stan, neighbors in their late 60s who host weekly walk-and-talk coffee dates. They stroll their block together, cups in hand, navigating cracks and slopes while discussing everything from grandkids to gardening. The camaraderie distracts them from the effort, turning exercise into connection. By now, you've got strategies for your home, eyes, hydration, sitting habits, and social life. But there's one final piece to this puzzle, an invisible force that's either fortifying your balance or quietly undermining it. It's not your feet, your diet, or your exercise routine. It's how you're thinking about aging itself. Let's talk about rewriting the story you tell yourself every time you hesitate to reach, bend, or step forward. Let's talk about the stories we tell ourselves. Every time you think, "I'm too old for this," or "I shouldn't risk it," you're not just speaking. You're programming your nervous system. Balance thrives on confidence, and confidence is a choice. Take Irene, an 81-year-old who'd developed a habit of gripping door frames as she walked through them. "Better safe than sorry," she'd say. But her physical therapist noticed something. Irene's white-knuckled grip was actually increasing her fear of falling. The solution? The power word reset. Now, every time Irene approaches a doorway, she says aloud, "Steady." That one word cues her to stand tall, soften her grip, and trust her body. "It sounds silly," she admits, "but saying steady reminds me I'm stronger than I think." This ties into a vital truth. Fear of falling can be more dangerous than the fall itself. When we move tentatively, we stiffen up, robbing our bodies of the fluid micro-adjustments that keep us upright. Think of a toddler learning to walk. They wobble freely, arms out, constantly recalibrating. As we age, we trade that adaptability for rigidity, but it's not too late to reclaim it. Meet Frank, 76, who practices controlled stumbles in his backyard. With a padded mat beneath him and his son spotting nearby, he intentionally loses his balance sideways, then practices rolling safely. "It's like fire drills for your body," he says. "If you ever do trip, muscle memory kicks in. You don't need a mat to start. Try sitting on the edge of your bed and letting yourself tilt slightly left or right, catching yourself with your hands. Rehearse recovery, and fear loses its grip. Now let's address a balance saboteur hiding in your pantry: inflammation. Swollen joints and stiff muscles don't just hurt, they throw off your spatial awareness. Consider Lydia, a 69-year-old who blamed her unsteadiness on bad knees. Then her nutritionist suggested cutting back on processed sugars and adding turmeric to her meals. Within weeks, her joint stiffness eased and her balance improved. Why? Chronic inflammation disrupts the nerve signals that guide your movements. Try this. Next time you cook rice or soup, toss in a teaspoon of ginger or cinnamon, natural anti-inflammatories that cost pennies per serving. Pair it with the 5-second balance boost. Before each meal, Stand behind your chair, hands resting, lightly on the back. Lift one knee slightly and hold for 5 seconds. Switch sides. Over time, those seconds add up. But here's the game changer. Balance isn't just physical, it's social currency. Every time you confidently stride into a room, hug a grandchild, or join friends for a walk, you're reinforcing your vitality. Loneliness, on the other hand, hunches shoulders and shortens steps. That's why I want you to try the invitation experiment. Reach out to someone today, a call, a text, a knock on a neighbor's door, and propose a balance-boosting activity. It could be as simple as, want to try standing on one leg together while we wait for the coffee to brew? Shared laughter disarms fear, which brings us to the ultimate question. What's your balance legacy? Imagine your great-grandchildren decades from now, hearing stories about how you gardened at 75, danced at 80, or taught them to fly a kite at 85. Every small choice today, those weight shifts by the counter, the mindful sips of water, the courage to say steady, writes that story. If you've made it this far, I'd love to hear from you. Drop a comment below and share one thing you learned today and how you plan to use it in your life. We'd love to hear your thoughts, so don't hold back. Your input means a lot to us. Reading your comments keeps us motivated and inspired. If you found this video helpful, be sure to like, subscribe, and share. Your support helps us keep bringing you valuable content. And remember, aging isn't about slowing down. It's about learning to move smarter, listen closer, and trust deeper. So the next time you stand up from that chair, pause for a breath. Feel your feet grounded. Hear the quiet confidence of a body that's learning, adapting, and thriving. Here's to your next step, and all the steady, joyful steps still to come. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.